Hello, and welcome to the show. SykoYoda here with another LEGO Creations video, and today we are diving into something a little bit unusual. One of these items that comes up often is a simple based lightsaber or a simply made lightsaber. So today we're going to do this lightsaber here with different combinations of ideas. So what we need to start with is the simple round, and you're going to need at least 12 of them would be good, so a dozen. They can be any color, but once you get that going, you take one of these connect pieces from the Technic stuff. It is a click on one side and a button on the other. I don't know how else to describe it, but essentially it clicks into place, and then it's a button that you can place, or a stud you can place anything onto. On top of that, you're going to need 2 round flat discs, and then another one of the round blocks with the Technic pieces in it. This allows you to connect any other Lego to it. The separation between these two things is the correct spacing to go ahead and apply other flats in or smooth tiles in or anything like that. In the center of this, you're going to place in any number of the rounds. And again, these can be any color you want. I would suggest somewhere around 6 to 8 between the two segments. And then go ahead and place the 2 segments here that have the Technic pieces on them on either end. So far you've got yourself multiple rounds, 4 with Technic pieces in them that allow you to connect blocks to them, and 4 flat rounds sandwiched 2 each in between the Technic rounds. This is going to allow us to move on to the next step, where I can show you simple ways to make texture in your lightsaber. So we're going to take some flats. These are 1x6s. I'm using black so that you have a good contrast, but they can be any color. You are placing these on the Technic pieces on the very edges on both ends. So the first slot, if you look at underneath them, is where the first Technic piece will be. You can also apply these into, if you look at the bottom of a flat, they have the in-betweens with a little round button. You can put them on there so you can slide them back and forth to create different visuals or different distances depending on what you want to do. On the side with the studs, the rounds, you're going to need something for filler to make it smooth, because otherwise you have this stud that sticks out and it looks kind of crazy. There's not much you can do about that because there is not huge 4x4 round smooths. Then I'm just going to use these here grate pieces. They're flat on the outside. They create the same appearance as just using a 1x2 smooth. This is just a representation to show you, again, what I'm doing with them and why I'm doing it. These also can be any color you choose. If you would like to have them contrast with the smooth 1x6s that you put in, you could opt to use a different color. I'm choosing to use black here again to show you very easily what's going on. Here are all of the pieces again in a gray tone, so if you wanted to make the whole thing look like it was made of metal or silver in color, you could just go with these pieces and you got everything in place. But you could go with any of them. You could go with white, red. If you want a gold hue, you can use sand. That gives a good bronze base. Yellow is kind of a goldish color. These are the first implements we're going to do for the hilt and for the butt of the lightsaber. So you need a top and a bottom. Now, I like to use wheel-based items, but you can also use discs like we've been using, the 4x4 flat rounds. You have to have some of the long Technic rods. These are X in shape, and that allows things to not turn. And then you see these 2 cones, one with the center in place and one without. The one without allows you to use something like this, which is a 2x2 round block, and then you take a stud in any color. I prefer gray, and that gives you a good visual appearance where the lightsaber actual blade would be coming out of. And then you just push your finger on the end of it and push the Technic piece through, and then go ahead and add the wheel on. It doesn't matter which direction the wheel is facing, because from the sides they look exactly the same in either direction. There are also different styles of wheels that have the same side style on them, so you don't have to have the specific ones I have. Just look for ones that have the similar radius as the round blocks we're using. And then you place one on either end. Again, it can be utilized either way to give yourself a different appearance. And you got yourself a basic shape for a lightsaber. Now, you can do all kinds of different contrasting things with these. You can change the colors up. You can even change the pieces up. And I've said that I like to use wheels and stuff like that. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, I want to show you how to make some different dials and knobs. The first one you got here is a couple of pieces from Technic. The next one is a Technic-based standard, and then you have another hub from one of the wheels. The gear option allows you for more texture and just to give it your own flair. This here is one of the smooth tiles that are kind of rounded shaped. You put on bottoms of things to make things easily slide. Then you put a stud in the center of it, and it allows you to connect in. Or you can just grab some of those studs on their own and connect them in. And now I'm going to show you different ways to apply them. This here's a perfect example of a button. And then we have our different options for changing the amount of power going to the blade itself. You can use variables on this as well. There's always more options that I'm showing you here. I just want to give you a good idea as to what to do. Now, the two red studs I'm showing you, you can use as red studs that just for some color, or you can use clears, and that can be your power gauge. So as you're turning the knob, you can see the power gauge go up and down. You could use a green through red selection, so green, yellow, red, or green, yellow, orange, red. And you got yourself a good color adjustable power setting bar on the side of your lightsaber. Okay, let's get back into those different options for heads and for the tops and bottoms. I like using these wheels that we used in the black. You can use, again, in any color that you have. But the reason I like using those is because the radius on them is very similar to the blocks. And then you have another connect piece that goes specifically on the connect rods that are X shape. And then we have a different style of wheel base from, I think they're the large inflatable tires, and then your oversized dish. Now you can take an oversized dish and connect it through something and kind of hide the studs. See how it sits inside of the wheel if you use it on the correct end of the wheel? But you're going to need something to lock it in place. So I'm going to take this other wheel that has a hex Technic slot, and then just to give that little look that there's a place for the laser to come out of, I'm going to go ahead and add that little piece there on the end. And you got yourself a different style of head. That simple. If you play around with all these different concepts, you can come up with stuff that can make it your own, but it is a very simple process. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the wheels here to do the bottom end. This is a couple of standard wheel pieces. The first is the one I love to use for everything. This is a different Technic connection where it has the round double connection on top and then a place to connect the rod, X rod in the bottom. Now you're going to place it into the first wheel flush, so it's going to stick out, and then if you choose the correct side of the main wheel piece there, they push together perfectly, and that gives you a very good base to swap out different pieces in your lightsaber. All you have to do then is swap out for the different styling, and you can put back in what you want to do for appearance. You can mix and match the colors as you see here, or you can go ahead and pull those off and apply the grays. All of these are based off of a hand size conducive to somebody who is of a younger age. Most of the requests I've gotten for these have been from younger folks, and I wanted to make sure I obliged to you on that. This is what you got here to create a simple lightsaber in different manners and techniques, allowing you to create something that is your own. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is very useful and helpful for you guys to create your own version of a lightsaber. If you do create your own version of a lightsaber and you'd like to share a picture with me, feel free to do so on Twitter. I am at SykoYoda on Twitter, spelled exactly the same. As usual, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget that like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. Feel free to leave some comments, requests, or suggestions down below, and I will see you next time.